jumping into this tutorial. I already have my face makeup and my eyes, everything done. I did only contour, highlight, and blush the right side of my face, which is the left side in the video, because this side will be completely covered up. It would have been completely pointless. So yeah, I'm taking the NYX Primal colors in black. It's a pressed pigment. They're super pigmented. I was trying to go in with a really light hand because, as you can see, I'm trying to map everything out, and you can still kind of erase it and all that, cover it up, you know, all that kinds of stuff. And I was looking at a picture I had done a while back. I was using it as a reference photo because I really liked how it turned out. And it was a picture where I was sitting in front of a mirror, and the side towards the camera was the more beauty makeup side of it, and then in the mirror what the camera picked up was the skull side of my face. I didn't add any color to that skull, I just did black and white. So on this one I am making it a little bit more colorful, but yeah. So now that I kind of have everything roughly outlined, these pigments are really good because, as you can see, I barely have any product on there, but I can just take this little flat shadow brush and roughly blend everything out. I'm just really roughly blending it. I really only did the eye part too for now, because we're going to go in with a cream paint in white, and just using a beauty sponge that is damp, I'm going to just pounce that all over my skin and just apply the white makeup pretty much everywhere. I mean, not on your whole face, but you know, on the skull side of it. And I did set my face makeup, and it doesn't ever seem to like bother anything. That was the picture I was showing you guys of my reference photo of the first time that I did this look. But yeah, so I know some people are like, oh, when you put powder down and then you put a cream over it, you know, it doesn't mesh all that well. The powder I used, I will put in the description box, but it didn't seem to do anything at all to blending or to how the white paint looked. I'm just kind of placing that in highlighting points, but you'll see when I go in later in the tutorial, I do go in a lot more places and whiten things up, stuff like that. You know, it's really customizable, so whatever you are wanting, it's definitely attainable. Going into the beauty sponge that I used to blend my foundation with, off camera, I'm just using that to blend the line between the white and the foundation, and then just kind of go over the foundation a little bit, just because it helps it blend a little bit better and be a little bit more flawless and smooth. Using a brush, I'm just taking more of that cream white and just really going into areas that were a little bit harder to reach with a sponge, and then just kind of using the butt end of it and blending it out just a tiny little bit. And I did take my blending brush I used for my eyes earlier and just kind of made sure that the white was blended where it met the eyeshadow. So now taking a flat shadow brush and the NYX Primal black again, that pigment, I'm just, as you can see, putting it really close to where I made that line, darkening it and kind of dragging it outwards. It doesn't need to be perfect right now. We will go back and blend, blend, blend. You know, just got to keep going back and forth. For looks like this, I do a ton of blending just because I want it to be very pretty and blended. So this is the brush I used to apply that white on my eye. And I'm just going in. I did not set the white cream makeup in this area because I just feel like it blends so much easier if I don't set it. That way, if there's spots where I need to kind of whiten it up a little bit, lighten it, any of that, I can just take a little bit of cream makeup, go back in, and I don't have to worry about so many layers of cream and then powder caking up and just starting to get really nasty on me. Taking a very, very small thin brush, I'm going to draw some teeth. So teeth are not my strong suit. I practice them pretty often because I don't feel like I'm necessarily the best at them, so I definitely try to make sure that I practice them to get better. And I have gotten a lot better, but this is just a really rough outline. I was just kind of sketching like where I wanted them, because then I was like, oh, I don't want to do them like that necessarily. I want to do them differently. And then I decided to adjust this part of the like jawline of it. Blend down, which basically just erased all the teeth, and then I went back in and did it again. And it's pretty easy to fix mistakes, I feel like, with this kind of style. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're doing a lot of shading, can add more white over top of it. Anything like that can really help you if you feel like you are not the strongest in certain aspects. Taking the black and a thin brush, I'm just going in between the teeth, shading them, and then I like to take a clean blending brush and just blend all that out. Get it really smoky looking because that jawline is going to be really, really blended and dark. So I was taking a brush and just making sure it would fit in between the lines. So I'm taking it flat and then turning it just to make it to where the root of the teeth is not as thick as the actual tooth itself. So just pushing down with the flat part and then twisting halfway up and dragging it up to a thinner point. And then setting the teeth very, very well with the translucent powder, just because I really liked how they looked, so I did not want to like mess them up after this point. Doing a little bit of extra shading, setting a little bit more. And then taking some white paint and just cleaning up that line. So I was going to use all three of these, but I ended up only really using the pink one. I used the blue, but then I covered it all up, so it was just completely pointless. So I'm taking the pink and putting that along the black shading. And just taking a regular eyeshadow blending brush. You can really use any brush that you want. This one it was dual-ended, so I was like, oh sweet, I don't need to have two brushes in my hand, and it's just more things to lose track of in the chaos. So makes it a whole lot easier. And then taking the white paint again and just making sure this area is really white, and then pressing down that pigment down on top of it. By adding the white paint and then pressing the NYX Primal colors over top of it, it just really helps it to be really pigmented and, you know, get a lot more color payoff than you would just pushing it down. And I'm putting this pretty much to any shaded area on the face. So I did go in with the blue, like I said, but then it really got covered up. I don't think you could really see any of it at the end of it, but I think it's more the process. You know, I wanted to show you guys that sometimes things just don't work out. I get asked that a lot, like, do you ever like do something and you're like, oh gosh, like it didn't work, or changed your mind, something like that, and it definitely happens. So I just wanted to show you guys that. That's why I did leave the blue in this tutorial, because it happens, you know. Everyone does things every once in a while where they do it and then they cover it up and they're like, oh, well, that was like a completely pointless step. But you know, you live and you learn. YOLO, right? I mean, it was fun putting the blue on there. I loved how it looked. And then going back to the pink and blending out those two shades, which, as you can see, made like a really neat like purpley color. And I'm going into the black and really darkening up that line. And just trying to keep it right on that line and as close and thin as possible, because we will go back in and shade a lot. But for this part right here, we don't want it just super, you know, thick and drug out. But as you can see, it definitely gives like a really good like 3D effect on the skin. Makes it look raised up on this part, and like the part that I put the pink on is kind of more sunken in. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat what makeup can do. So I made this little line in the skull just to like define this little area. Then I'm just going in and thickening little parts of it and thickening, you know, the majority of it, darkening it. I kind of try to go a little bit lighter, and then once I like the, you know, whatever it is, the line or shape, whatever I'm making, then I go in with a little bit more of that Primal color, especially the black, because I mean, it's black, it's not the most forgiving color, and then I go in and darken it, and then just blending that out with a clean blending brush. So I'm applying a little bit more white just to brighten up the lines in between, the space in between the two lines. And then going back into the black, and this is where all the blue basically disappears. And I do drag the pink out more later on, so don't think that the pink is gone forever as well, because it is definitely not. But I'm just taking a blending brush into that black and just darkening it up quite a bit and dragging it out. And then taking it down onto the teeth, just because I personally like more smoked out kind of shaded teeth, but it's up to you. And then going back in with the beauty sponge and just blending that little shading, just lightening it up a little bit, helping it to blend a little bit better. And yeah, and then going back with the pink again. It was a lot of back and forth on this, just how it is sometimes, just a process. And then back in with that white paint on a brush and just helping the pink to blend out as well. Then back in with that pink, I'm taking it to these little shaded areas, the ones that I hadn't hit with the pink whatsoever yet. I wasn't sure how I would like the pink on this look because I loved it as just black and white, but I absolutely loved it. And I'm going in right here and adding more of that white. So I do apologize, you can't see a lot of my chest, but I did try to edit it down just to show what you guys can see. So right here I'm just going in and I outlined what I want to fill in with black, and as you can see I also took that white cream paint and put that all down one side of my body. Of course you want the side of your body that matches the skull side, and then taking the Primal colors in black and just filling the whole thing in with a black blending brush. So now I'm going in with the white paint and just popping that down in the middle so I can add some of the pink. And I did do this to my neck, but you'll see that it's different later on because I ended up hating it. So I did decide to change it and go with something else. So now I'm just drawing some cracks in our skull just because I think they just make skulls, just give, you know, put it a little bit over the edge, give it a little bit more, just to make it a little bit cooler. Personal preference, if you don't like the cracks, that's totally fine. For the cracks, what I do is just drag the brush in a little bit of a squiggle motion, and then I do a really light hand as it kind of tapers off. And this is where I realized I forgot to put white paint on my ear. So yeah, I used to always forget my ears. So if you guys are like getting into paints and stuff, or you want to do this for Halloween, it does look, it kind of pulls it together when you remember to like do your ear. So, and then I did try to remember that for pictures, I want the cracks to be visible. So if you are doing this for like a photo shoot or something like that, then just make sure that, you know, you put the cracks where they're actually going to be seen. Otherwise, you're just doing these badass cracks for literally no reason. And I do them similar to like a vein. I just kind of drag it and then make it lighter hand and thinner as it gets towards the end. And then I bring little cracks coming off of cracks, all that kind of stuff. And for the ribs, as you can see, I did them black and then tapered it off into pink. And then I'm going over all of the cracks with my blending sponge. I didn't add anything to it, just to kind of fade them out a little bit, make them look a little bit worn down. And then going back in and adding some more white. So taking a pink highlighting powder, I'm just gonna pop that all over the place basically. You don't have to use pink, but I would try to, you know, if you're using different colors for this kind of look, I would just try to stick to like the same kind of family or something that is going to complement it. So I had placed the white down to make this color also pop the same way I did the other pink. So just keep that in mind, that if you're kind of putting it on there and you're like, man, I just want it to like really pop, if you pop some of that white paint on, I'm also doing that right here on my nose, and then put highlighter over top of it or your pigments or whatever you're using, it just is gonna make it pop so much more. And as you can see, my neck is different here. This is where I had taken it off and changed it before this part because it was just driving me crazy, guys. I could not stand it. And then taking a smaller brush and going in with the same pink highlighter and just going into parts that I wanted to highlight. It made all of the white parts of the skull that I put this on like really reflect really beautifully into the lights and for photos and all that. So yeah, definitely cool thing to do. So I popped my lashes on the bottom, one long one in the middle, and then two shorter ones, one on each side of the long one, and I only did it on the skull side. And then popping on some jewels that I got from Hobby Lobby. They are pink and blue, like holographic ones. They reflect different in different lighting. They're really cool. This is very time consuming, so if you want to put a bunch of them on, just make sure that you have time and patience. And I had also popped my wig on because sometimes I like to see the completed look with the wig, just see if I need to add anything else. Alright guys, this is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and bye!